Hola, Maribel, yo sé que estás ahí.
Hola, lo que pasa es que hay mucho ruido aquí donde estoy, pero aquí estoy.
Bueno, ponle en mute entonces porque adivina que la tengo en vivo. ¡La tengo conmigo!
Yeah, ya la vi, wow.
Dame un segundo, Maribel, que estoy tratando de que el touch points me abra. Okay, I'm letting them know. Come on, computer, why aren't you working?
So cool.
Maribel is in Michigan, Linda. I have like no patience, obviously. All right, we're gonna send it to Facebook in a minute. Give me a second.
Well, what are you sending? I don't even see the
You'll
message.
see.
Oh, you haven't typed it.
Okay, within a minute it'll be there. Okay, Maribel, ¿me ves? All right, here we go. We're gonna send this directly. Look, Maribel, what are we wearing?
I love it.
She's got hers and I got mine. I got her one, see? Maribel is from Mexico, so she loves it. She knows what it is. Ya vamos para el Zoom.
So this is customers and consultants.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 500-person group.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm recording at the same time, so we'll have it. All right, guys. So thank you. I am making sure we're going live properly because, you know, Facebook nowadays, God knows. God knows. All right, we are live on Facebook. Okay, so my surprise to you tonight is not only am I interviewing Linda Toupin, but I am interviewing her live. You did not know that. That's my surprise. What do you think? Are you excited? So let me introduce to you one of my mentors and one of my favorite women in Mary Kay, and her name is Linda Toupin. And so I wanna open it to Linda. She can introduce herself. Trust me, she is not shy. Okay. So, and we're gonna do half hour. I want you to hear her Mary Kay story. So Linda, I want you to just, I'm so jealous of what you're saying. So jealous to be here. Anyway, so Linda, I met Linda in 2008, guys. And thanks to her, I changed my way of doing Mary Kay. So you are not only getting to experience her and learn from her, but I'm trained by her. And you get to meet her because she's in my own house. We were in the pool. We just got out of the pool.
And you could have asked, we did our makeup. Like I said, we can't go on. So it's amazing what bright lipstick will do for you.
All right. So this is my mentor, National Sales Director, Emeritus, Linda Toupin, with the most amazing career in her life. But I want you to introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I've heard so much about you today. Like literally, I feel like I know all of you. That's all we've talked about since I got here last night is these amazing women that all of you are. You know, she's telling you all about me, but you know, I have had so much fun. And it has just totally filled me with joy to learn about each and every single one of you. I mean, she showed me your numbers. She showed me your charts. She showed me your accomplishments. And guys, you all are destined to do big things. Like it reminds me of when I was in Paulina's position, building to a big unit club, building onto Trip, building onto Million, and all of you are going there. So kudos to each and every one of you. I am honored and privileged to be on here with my friend Paulina tonight.
How exciting is that, girls? I am bringing you a Mary Kay legend. You don't understand. This is a big deal, big old deal. I know Danielle is having a heart attack on Facebook. If I had told Danielle that Linda Toupin was going to be here, she would have been camping outside my house. So we're going to not tell Danielle, even though she already saw me on Facebook. Okay, Linda. So I want you to tell them where Mary Kay found you and how it found you. You want to sit in this seat?
No, I'll just scoot up here beside you.
All right.
I'll sit on my Well, we have shorts on. Okay. We might look good from here up, folks, but down here, we're still in the swimming pool. So anyway, where did Mary Kay found me? 1982. It was probably sometime around January or February. I had a encounter with my principal. I was a home economics instructor for grades 6 through 12 in a really small rural school in southern Indiana. And you know, it's the power of one conversation, the power of one text, the power of one Facebook message, the power of one conversation can turn people's lives. That's what a turning point is. And so for a turning point for me happened when my principal actually came to my classroom and he said, we need one of the young teachers. And in 1982, I was a very young teacher in my school. And we need someone, Pauline, to work with the 13 and 14-year-old girls in the school. They were starting to use makeup. And he said, we need somebody to help them. And I looked at him and I went, dude, you know, I can't even do this myself. And I certainly couldn't teach it to a bunch of kids. And I lost the argument. And so I had to find a speaker. And so back then you open this big book that you got in your house called phone book, and you flip to the yellow pages, which is now what you would call Google, but with paper. And I looked up the word cosmetics to see who I could get to come to my classroom to teach my kids. And found this, the word Mary Kay. And I found this woman named Lucinda Utley, and I called her and I said, hey, I need a speaker for my classroom. And so somewhere probably right at the end of March that year, she came to my classroom. And, you know, I don't really remember too much about what she did as far as the demonstration of the products, but I remember I liked her. And you all know that you don't get anywhere in this business if people don't like you and they don't trust you. I liked her. And she asked me that day, Paulina, she said, have you ever thought about doing something like Mary Kay? Now, of course, my answer was no, but that doesn't mean no, I wasn't interested. It just simply more, I never thought about it because at that time in my life, I was teaching school during the day. I was waiting tables at night and I was sponsoring every club they would at school. And I had grown up incredibly poor in southeastern Kentucky on a dairy farm and got an enormous work ethic from that farm. And I had competed in 4-H. I knew how to win. I knew how to set goals. But, you know, hard work and grit and fire and ability to win doesn't guarantee financial success. And so I didn't know what I necessarily wanted to be when I grew up, but I knew I didn't want to be poor because poor only looks good in the movies. And so I had 3 jobs at that time in my life. And so she said, have you ever thought about doing something like Mary Kay? I said, no, I don't know anything really about it. And she invited me to a fashion show. And that was my first encounter with Mary Kay people. And so what happened, look at our little top, something really sexy here. Mine keeps riding up, yours stays down. Mine is
Seriously, it's because I keep pulling it down.
well, okay, well, you got to keep pulling these things down. But anyway, so I went to the fashion show, saw a lot of happy people, and was very curious. She said, do you like to read? And I said, yes. Where's Mary Kay's autobiography?
It's around there somewhere.
She handed me Mary Kay's autobiography, which is the best recruiting tool that you have at your disposal. And she handed me an Applause magazine, which is the second best recruiting tool that you have. Because I fell in love with the woman, Mary Kay Ash. I didn't fall in love with the product. I didn't even use the product. I didn't fall in love with a dream or a concept that I could be something in Mary Kay, but I fell in love with this woman named Mary Kay Ash because she didn't really, Paulina, think like anybody in my teacher's lounge. She said that God could come first, my family could come second, my career could come third. She said, you praise women to success. That was not conversation in my teacher's lounge. She had all these principles of the golden rule, and I was fascinated by this woman. And so after the fashion show, she gave me a facial. I started with the basic skincare, and I think it was like $49 back then. And she said, Monday night is our sales meeting. Would you like to come? And I said, yeah, I would like to come. I'd like to know more about these women. And it was maybe 6 people in the room. And it was the 1980s. You all get a kick out of this. In the 1980s, we all permed our hair. So I had really long hair. It was longer than Paulina's, and it was heavily permed. And so the way you got to a program or a meeting, you washed it right before you got in the car, and then you did this. Like this with a perm. while it's drying, made your hair super big, like bigger than Farrah Fawcett. I mean, big hair, and I had big earrings, and I wore my best.
I think Geraldine is getting a kick out of this. Like I can see the smile. She's like, I can relate. And Maribel is
I had that perm, I know.
and Maribel is asking if you knew about Mary Kay before you joined them.
No, I mean, I had no knowledge of Mary Kay. I mean, I knew it was pink. I knew they did makeup, but I'd never met anyone in Mary Kay prior to that. So at the meeting, I saw people winning. They won the little Mary Kay pens. And I thought, you know, I don't know anything about no cleansing cream, but I know how to win. I know how to set a goal in 4-H. 4-H is like Girl Scouts, for those of you who may not know 4-H. It's like Girl Scouts. And I knew how to win. And then they started passing out ribbons, and I knew how to show my cows at the county fair. I knew how to take grand champion at the county fair with my cows. And I thought, I know how to win. I don't know anything about mascara, but I know how to win. And then they brought out the tiaras. Do you have tiaras?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, they brought out the tiaras. The game was over. It was like, oh my gosh, I was Kentucky's Dairy Princess. Okay. So, I mean, you know, I was all about that. And so the way she recruited me is very different than the way we do it today. Like, we didn't have technology, so we had a piece of paper. And so she came up to me at the end of the meeting, and she was a very dominant personality. And she said, what do you think? And I said, this is really fun. And she said, good. She gave me an ink pen. She gave me a Mary Kay agreement. She said, fill this out. It'll be $85. And you know what I did? I filled it out. I wrote her a bad check for $85 because people who work 3 jobs don't have extra money. And so I figured, you know, I'm from the South. People from the South write bad checks every day, and they just make sure they clear them before people get to the bank. And so I wrote a check, and I became a Mary Kay consultant.
That's very cool. So did you hear that? She grew up in a very poor area in Kentucky. And you will know what she has done with her Mary Kay in a minute, because I'm going to ask her. And you also know she had no idea how to do makeup, but she loved to win. So Linda, so you joined Mary Kay. So then how did you get started? Like, what did you do, and where do you find your customers?
Okay, well, those are all really good questions, because that was nothing I thought about the night I joined. If I had gone home, I would have never joined. And you have a book. I saw it blink. Where's Blink? I saw it right there. Pull that book. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book many years ago. He actually wrote Outliers. I think most of you are probably familiar with Outliers, but he wrote this book. It's called Blink. And he proves statistically that in the blink of an eye, a person knows the right answer. And that for every minute, every hour, every day that you don't make a decision about something, you statistically will make the wrong decision. And so that's why when someone comes on a Facebook group and is presenting the Mary Kay opportunity, either you know it or you don't know it. You either say, oh, I like those people. I want to be part of that. That sounds like something that I would like to do. And you make a decision, even if you haven't figured out the components of it. And so basically what ends up happening is that I made a blink decision that night. Now, had I gone home, I would have thought, good grief, Linda, you don't even have $85, and you don't know anything about makeup, and who on earth would you start with? And all of the things that people tell themselves. But see, in the blink of an eye, I knew this was right. And so you don't have to have this business figured out. You just have to think, okay, what's the next step? So back to your question. Back then, we didn't do, the director didn't do a business debut, but I was going to kind of do like a little open house and do facials. And I didn't have a clue. Nobody coached me on what to do. So I told a bunch of my friends. Now, in my mind, it must have been a lot, but it certainly wasn't 150 or 75. And I told a bunch of friends I was going to do Mary Kay. And then I cleaned my house and I baked the brownies and nobody came.
All right, I want you to explain that, because you just had a question here, and it's how do you handle disappointment, the obstacles, the disappointment, and how do you continue being motivated? That's your question there. So
okay, so it's a very, very good question, Maribel. Well, first of all, I was disappointed. First of all, I think you have to acknowledge that people hurt your feelings and that you have an emotional reaction to something. But then I got mad, which is also another emotional reaction. And I think it comes from just having a strong enough self-esteem to say, you know what? those people all hurt my feelings. They didn't come. They didn't even call to apologize. But I like this and I like it. I'm going to do it with or without them. So then that kind of edge came to me where it was just like, you know, I'll find some people who will think this fun. Now, in fairness to them, I probably mentioned it to them. Probably didn't really like invite them. I mean, I didn't work it. So anyway, so I went to school, and the best market for Mary Kay is people who love you, love the product, and can't afford it. And so
say that again.
The absolutely best market that you guys would possibly ever want in your life for Mary Kay is people who love you. If they've met you, if they've sat with you, if they've had a facial with you, they like you because you like them, and they can't afford it. That's the best market. And they've got a work ethic. Now, if they don't have a work ethic, that's the wrong market. And so in my school, it was a small rural school. I had a group of high schoolers, and the kids said, I want to use Mary Kay. And of course, none of them could afford it. And I explained our party plan. I explained how to have a party. And so then they invited their moms, and they invited their aunts and people who had jobs because they didn't have jobs. And so from there, Paulina, not once in 39 years.
I want you to say this because they are used to like trying to find people all the time. Say your story because you never won't chatter. I know.
I still have my original business cards, you guys. I never pass out business cards. I never booked a stranger. I never, like, I tried to do it once and my hands were trembling so bad. I thought, I don't like this. I ain't doing it that way. And so I was trained by Mary Kay, and Mary Kay said that if I met a woman that I spent an hour or two with her, she would fall in love with the product and she probably couldn't afford it all. And all during the appointment, I talked about her second appointment. Every woman deserves 2 appointments. And during the appointment, I was finding out that she had a girlfriend. Then the girlfriend at work that loved makeup or didn't love makeup. I found out where her mama lived and where her aunts lived. I found out all about her in the appointment. So that as the appointment was going on, in my mind, I'm constructing her party in my mind. And so I'm constantly during the first appointment saying, now, the second time I see you, we're going to do this. The second time I see you, we're going to do this. The second time I see you, we're going to do this. So there was never, I never asked people yes or no questions. It was just like the second time you see me, this is what we do. And so by the time we got to the set sheet, I would say if money was not an issue, which set would you choose? And she always said if money wasn't an issue, I'd take the big one. But of course, money is an issue. And so I'd say, now money is an issue. So which one are you comfortable sitting with today? And she would usually say, well, I can maybe afford the skincare or maybe afford a compact or, you know, sometimes it was just a mascara. And my response was, that's no problem. We're going to win it. I'm going to help you win that product for free. And by that time, she was in love with me and in love with the product. And I had a plan. So you have to have a plan the moment you walk in the door of how this girl is going to get her product for free. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that I can help everybody in the world get their product for free. And so I'm 100% convinced of that. So you're never going to convince me otherwise. And so it was like no big deal. And so we would book her appointment, and we already knew who she was going to invite. And so when I had her appointment, I had the same conversation with everybody there. And so then we would get 2 or 3 more appointments. And so you just have to have a good appointment, and then it will snowball from there. And everybody always referred me to somebody else because it was the way I viewed it. But it was the way I was taught. That's the way we were all taught in the 60s and 70s and in the 80s. And so So to back up, I came in on April 22nd. It was the last month of school, so it's very busy for teachers, as you all well know. So I used that time to study, and I was a very good student. Like, back then, we didn't have a phone or a screen to practice in front of. So I would literally stand in front of a mirror, and she said, practice your presentation. So I took my flip chart, and I would practice in front of the mirror, just like she taught me. And like, I grabbed a hold of my boyfriend at the time, and I sat him down. I made him listen to the whole thing. And then in June, when school was out, I was only waiting tables at that time. So there's 168 hours in a week. And if you work a job, that's 40. So you have 128 hours left after you work. And if you sleep 8 hours a night, that's 56. So after you work 40 and after you sleep 56, you have 72 hours left. And the reason people don't understand that there's 4 work weeks in a week is that those 72 hours are often very undisciplined or they're unstructured. And so I made a decision real early in my career, like that first month, that it was like, okay, I'm going to only wait tables this summer. So that's only 8 hours a day. So there's still 16 hours left after I get done an 8-hour shift waiting tables. And so it was like, I'm going to try to have a facial or party every day. And so the kids at school had already told me, we'll have parties. And then by that time, a few of the teachers told me they would have a party. And some of my neighbors who had said, yeah, I'll have a facial or whatever. And so I had enough to get started. And so by the end of the summer, I'd averaged about 3 appointments a week, and I was able to quit waiting tables. Now, in my wildest dreams, Paulina, when I came in on April, my wildest dreams, if I worked for years at this, I might be able to quit waiting tables. That was like my biggest thought at that moment. And so, come September, I was easily making, and I was making a lot. Back in 82, I could bring home $100 to $150 a night in tips. And that was in 1982. But I was easily doing that in Mary Kay. And so anyway, so that was my first 3 months.
Okay. So then you got married.
Well, Dave and I were living together at that time. And he was very encouraging because I work for the Humane Society and I find all homeless animals a home. And his remark was, you can find all those animals homes. I am more than confident that you can help women, whatever you do. And that was like, okay, all right, I'll do that. So we weren't married at the time. I didn't have children.
But then you got married to Dave, and then you had 2 kids.
Okay, that's in 1985. So that was 3 years later.
Okay, I would love for you to tell your story when you kind of like had that meltdown because of the finance thing. And like, remember you had Neil and you were paying the credit card and you were sleeping.
Okay.
Because
So,
I think people see like your beginning and then they see this $1 million sales director, but they think you never had a hurdle.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go back to the first hurdle. Like my director never really showed me all the packages. And so like the only package she showed me was 600. And in my mind back then, that was quite a bit of money. And I literally went to 4 banks because back in 82, not everybody loaned a woman money. And so I never could get a loan. So I ended up at the Teachers Credit Union and they gave me $800 to do a $600 package. And of course, after a month, that was like, I was like pulling my hair out because you guys, we didn't have earned discount privilege. Every time you placed an order, you placed a $400 order. So your customers had to wait. And so, I ended up going back to the Teachers Credit Union. I paid that off and said, listen, that's not enough. I need like $2,400 more. So that was the first financial hurdle. And then when Dave and I got married in 85, he worked at a shipyard, but he also was a musician. And so you have to know that most of my career, he was a musician and there ain't no money in that. So I was kind of the primary breadwinner for most of our life. And so we got married in 86. I left education in 86. And then Neil was born. So that was a natural little break from education. So I was full-time Mary Kay, but I was already driving a pink Cadillac to school because there's 168 hours in a week. And I need to say this to you and to all of you. There was a sentence that was said to me at my new consultant training that shifted my mind. Guys, it's these shifts in your minds that makes you wealthy. You have to change your thoughts. This phone that we're working off of today is programmed to think, and so are we. We are programmed by people around us and that raised us. And if your programming isn't for success, you have to reprogram your mind. And that's what you're doing with all of these Zooms and all of these meetings. And so in that new consultant training, Paulina, Lucinda told me that day, now this is 1982, guys, where our eyeshadows were $3.50 and our skincare was $49 maybe it was $39 back then. And she said, in her experience, that unskilled, untrained Mary Kay consultants who didn't know what they were doing, when they would do a facial or party, they made $50 profit an hour. And every one of you on here would totally and completely agree with that statement. But then she went on to say this: every hour that you're not doing Mary Kay costs your family $50 an hour. So if you go to the grocery, you cost your family $50 an hour. If you mop your floors, you cost your family $50 an hour. If you cook, you cost your family $50 an hour. If you do laundry. So I had never thought about time and money in those dimensions. And so then from there, I developed a mantra really early as a consultant: if it don't bring me joy and it does not bring me money, I ain't doing it. Okay. And so some people love to cook. Some people love to do laundry. Some people love to mow grass. If you don't love it, why are you doing it? Because you can hire someone for minimum wage to do that. And then while they're there, you go do an appointment and you make $50, $100, $200 an hour. And then you have a reorder business for the rest of your life. So this wealth that I have, which I've earned $8 million plus $3 million in my retirement.
Wait. Let's say that again. In her Mary Kay career, she earned $8 million with Mary Kay. And in retirement, she will be making $3 million.
Okay. All right. Ouch. And so you have to see that it was a process of thoughts. It was a process of me changing my brain to be able to be a wealthy person. I mean, the house I lived in when I joined, guys, was 350 square feet. It was a summer cottage with no insulation. I was like romantic at the time. I thought it sounded romantic in the newspaper. Well, when it gets to 20 below zero where I live in the winter, like I nearly died in the house, okay, in the winter time. So I had nothing. You know, I'm working 3 jobs just to have nothing, basically. And so that thought process, though, made a huge difference. So let's fast forward. Let's go. I'm driving a Cadillac, still teaching school, leave school. I'm pregnant with my son, and I'm married. Okay, so couple of things, serious things happened. I'm not a person opposed to debt. Okay, I grew up on a dairy farm, and you know, a dairy farm is your house is 500 square feet, and then you have $100,000 silo. If you know anything about farming, and so we didn't have any money, but we had a silo that was $100,000. So I didn't think too much about debt, but I didn't have hardly any Mary Kay debt ever. That I didn't, you know, that wasn't much. But I made 2 strategic mistakes in 1989 that changed our life. That was really when credit cards came about. Like people were mailing people credit cards. Like in my drawer, people were mailing me these things called credit cards, which I had never seen before. At one time, I had $300,000 available to me on a credit card. If y'all want to know how 2008 happened, it happened in the 80s. Like I kept thinking, I couldn't pay off all these credit cards, and they were all at 20-some% interest. And so I had Katie, my daughter, and we owed the hospital $8,000. And so I'm a firstborn child. I just make decisions because I make them better than you. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell anybody. I reached in the drawer. I pulled out a credit card. I gave it to the hospital. I said, put it on there. And I thought I'll figure it out later at 20-some% interest. 30 days later, my husband had started a little business, and I was mother of a 2-year-old. I had a newborn baby. I was running this big Mary Kay organization. I'd earned my first trip in Mary Kay. I was tired, like really tired. And I hadn't kept his books. And the tax accountant looks at us and says, you owe $10,000 in taxes on this brand new store. And I'm like, there's no way a brand new store can owe $10,000. Well, I owe $10,000. So what did I do?
On a credit card.
I reached back in my drawer. I pulled out another credit card, and I threw $10,000 on it without a plan, without an idea. It was just, I'll figure it out when I can get some sleep. So now I have 18,000. So I live a lie for about 18 months. And what I mean by a lie is I wait till my family goes to bed. I pay one credit card with another credit card check. And if that's crazy stuff, but it's what happened. And so 18 months later, now I have $25,000 on a 20-some% credit card. I can't even make the minimum payments, and I'm never going to get out of debt. And so that's the story. But I mean, you know, this is not like, this business is simple, but being successful is not easy. Being successful is simple, but it's not easy.
But then you made a decision and you turn it all around. So I'm asking this question because it's how you thought. You're like, okay, I'm in this place. How do I go from where I am, like all these bad ideas, all these things bombarding my mind, like I'm in a hole, I can't sleep. How did you do the switch? And then all of a sudden you became a $1 million sales director.
Well, first of all, you have to know that when all of this was going on, I had someone who helped me in my house a few days a week with the kids. I never got rid of her because if I had I would have been trash. I had to have help. So I kept her. I hid this from my family. I hid it from my husband. But step one was, there was a moment. I think God speaks to us in different ways. And some people, you know, say God speaks to them through music or through nature. God often speaks to me through movies. And so my husband and I went at Christmas, 18 months after all this happened, and we watched a movie called Dances with Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
With Kevin Costner. Some of you know this movie. And it's about a man who was living a lie and he found the truth. And I mean, I couldn't quit crying. I mean, I couldn't quit crying. I cried for a week after the movie because it was like, I have to tell someone what I've done because I can't fix it by myself. So I came clean. I talked to my husband. He couldn't, obviously, he didn't have money to help us. And I'm a firstborn child. And so my mom and dad don't have money, but they have property. And I knew that they could go to the Farm Credit Association and get a loan at 5%. The 20-some% was killing me. Like I couldn't do 20-some%. I would never be out of debt. I wouldn't be out of debt today. And so I had to do the hardest thing a firstborn child ever does. And I had to go to my mom and dad and say, listen, I've made this horrible mistake and I don't want the money. I just need help getting it at lower interest. And so they agreed to help me get it at lower interest. And you have to understand, and I'll be happy to come on here at a different time and teach you Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid of needs. And at the bottom is food and air and sleep. But the next thing is safety and security. Now up here at the top is self-actualization, which is, and esteem needs, which is all those things you want in Mary Kate, okay? But you kind of have to start at the bottom of that pyramid every day. And when you wake up and all you think about money, and when you go to bed, all you think about money, your safety and security is threatened. And you will not go up that ladder. If you do, there will be problems. And so what happened was that conversation was in January of 1990 or 91. And I didn't have the problem fixed. These problems that we have, they don't have to be fixed, but you have to know how to fix them. And I didn't know how to fix it until then. And so that was, I want to say it's 1990. And then that was January. In February, my unit recruited 17 people. I recruited 8 of them. 8 of the 17 started with star orders. And when I bar graphed it out on Excel spreadsheet, that was 1990. By 1994, we did our first million. And I made the last payment to Farm Credit Bureau to pay off that loan from my dad, that my dad had helped me, because I was free in my mind to do it.
See, that's the reason I asked you a question, because I think most of us think, oh, life has to be perfect in order to be a top director or to be this. But you made a shift in your mind. And I think in every level, we have those little ghosts that are always hunting us down. So I asked you that question, not through the whole financial part, but because of you did that shift in your mind and you made that plan and it freed you. So it kind of helped you. So how have you helped your parents? Because I love that part of the story. Okay, guys, so here's something. I love her parents. And I want her to tell you the story when she went to the kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen. Okay. Well, first of all, I just spoke with my dad. My dad is 89. I just had a conversation with him. And my mom will be 87 in August. And I said they were dairy farmers. And I knew even as a child that when my parents got old, they wouldn't have very much. And so I can remember standing at my bedroom window, looking out over our barns, thinking, I don't know what I'll be when I grow up, but I will take care of my parents. I will never let my parents hurt, because, you know, many people think I've worked really hard. I haven't worked nearly as hard as my mom and dad worked, but they didn't have anything. And so sure enough, they ended up in their latter years of their life on Social Security, which was $1,100 a month. And so I was down at their house. This was way back in the late 1990s. So I was a kind of a new Mary, you know, my top director at that time. I wasn't a national. And there was all these pills lined up in the kitchen window. And I said, what is all these pills? And they were explaining to me that was all their medicine. And then my mom said, she said, we're going to stop taking some of those because we can't afford them. I said, what? She said, we can't afford them. I mean, whatever it was. And so all I remember was thinking about me being a little girl and looking out my bedroom window and swearing my mommy and daddy would never, ever want for anything. And they're very proud people. You know, they would never ask me for anything. And so I left my visit with them and I drove straight to the pharmacy. And I handed them my debit card. And I said, you know, my name is Linda Toupin. My parents are Bobby and Joyce Chestnut. They live at 1006 East Laurel Road in London, Kentucky. And I said, for the rest of their life, you are never, ever to send them another bill. They are never to see the cost. You are never to send them another bill. And so then that went on to me employing my mom. I was able to pay her a great deal of money and write it off on my taxes for, you know, a job that she was able to do. And that gave them income. And then that transferred into me giving them a couple of $1,000s a month. I just kind of took over all of their bills. And then my very last act in 2019 was I asked them if I could buy their home. And it's not much, you guys. I mean, it's just a little white frame house. I mean, it wasn't much, but I gave them $100,000. And I give them a payment every month on it. So it's several $1,000s for them to live. And it's so cute. I was telling Paulina today, you know, they've never had a bunch of money. And so my mom calls me the other day, you guys, and she goes, Linda, your daddy is scared to death that somebody's going to hack our bank account and take all this money. Now, there's probably no more than $20,000 or $30,000 in it. It's not like a ton of money. And I said, no, mommy. I said, they have insurance on those things. You know, they have insurance on banks. And I assured her that they didn't need to take the money out and put it in the mattress. And anyway, so my daddy went out the other day and bought this little used cheap SUV. And then he went and got new rims for his truck. And he said, well, we've got all this money. We got to do something with it. And I said, Daddy, I want you to spend every freaking penny of it. And I said, you've got enough money to last another 10 years. And you are to spend every penny of it because the government ain't getting none of it. And so that's my why.
So I asked her that part of the story because we all have a reason why. And until you find it, there's no joy or something.
Well, I don't necessarily think that. I think our why changes. Mm-hmm. Like the why I joined was they gave out tiaras. Okay, that's not a really deep, meaningful, like moral why. It was like, oh, they give out pins and ribbons and tiaras. I want to win that. And then my next why was maybe if I worked hard enough, because waiting tables is not what you want to do in your 60s. I thought, you know, you wait tables when you're young and you're cute and the tips are good. And I thought, well, that was my why, was like that. And then once I did that, then it was like, well, I want to win one of those cars.
And then you wanted to quit your teaching job.
Then I wanted to quit my teaching job. And then I wanted to go on one of those trips. And so the why isn't always deep, like I want to take care of my parents so they don't starve stories. It can start out as just one of the advice I would give all of you is quit worrying about the future and take the next logical step. Like me and Paulina strategized in her office today, and all we did was, what's the next step for this girl? What's the next step for this girl? What's the next step for Paulina? See, when you operate in the future, what ends up happening is you get scared and you're thinking, I can't handle that. I can't handle that. It's like you having a baby and worrying about how will I handle a teenager? It's like you'll figure it out by the time they're a teenager. Okay, quit worrying about it today. So some of you just need to ask yourself, what's my next step? Okay, is my next step a recruit? Is my next step my first $200 party? What's my next step? And make it like baby steps. And so that you can celebrate. Quit waiting to have big victories to celebrate. Have a victory that you got your 6 most important things to do list done today.
That's a cool advice. I like that. So what's your favorite part of your Mary Kay experience? How many years? 30 what?
39, almost 40.
39.
I started when I was 12.
That's good. Only Marisa is laughing.
They had different rules back then.
Okay. So you started when you were 12 and you were teaching when you were 12. This is very interesting. I can do math really well. Anyway, so of all the benefits that Mary Kay has, because they have the money and the car and the recognition and all of that, what are your favorite things that you have gotten out of it?
Well, you look at your life very different when you're in your 60s and 70s. Life looks very different. And so you evaluate things very different. I think I would say to all of you, the person I became was the biggest benefit. My last words to Mary Kay before she died, because I did know Mary Kay and I did spend time with Mary Kay. And what I said to Mary Kay was, thank you for helping me find the gifts that were inside of me that I would have never found. I would have always taught school. I would always been one of the best teachers. I was the teacher that gave 110%. Everybody wanted to be in my class because it was fun. But I would have never used the gifts that I've used in Mary Kay because I had to challenge myself every day. Then let me explain it this way. I just told Paulina, today, in my spare time at Paulina's house, I'm working on my 50th, that would be 5 and a 0, 50th class reunion. If you want to know the difference in a Mary Kay career, go to your 50th class reunion and look at the people who were in your high school class and what they have accomplished with their life and but it's not how they look. Yeah, Mary Kay's definitely gave me an edge there. It's how they think. They're old.
Oh, they look old. They look 90. I checked the Facebook. I was like, okay, now
they're old. They think old. They're tired. They've had hard lives. And they haven't been around all of you. They haven't been around the Paulinas. You can tell. You can tell by the way they think. And so the biggest benefit is not the diamonds, it's not the cars, it's not the cash, it's the person I became because I hung around people who thought different. And what's the price tag on that? I mean, there is no price tag on how you think. And to be around these people that think big, that do not let you whine, do not let you wallow, do not let you stay put. Now, when we offer women a starter kit, we are offering her hope. That's what the starter kit is. It's hope. That's what you sell. You don't sell a starter kit, you sell hope. Okay. But, hope is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And so you guys, you have so much to give other women. And you may say, well, maybe I haven't done as much with it as other people. You're not selling your opportunity. You're selling Mary Kay's opportunity. What you choose to do with the business is your business. But Mary Kay has an opportunity that has been proven by hundreds of thousands of women to work all over the world in 38 countries. It's not your opportunity. People aren't buying you. They're buying the Mary Kay opportunity. And it's just our job to give them that hope to do that.
That's really cool. I like that answer.
There you go.
All right, guys. So you do have Linda Toupin live, and she is in my office. And you can open your microphone and you can ask her a question.
Are there questions in the chat, or do we have other questions in the chat?
Which movie? Oh, the movie is called Dances with Wolves. It's
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner.
What was your initial goal? Okay, we already covered that one. How did I hear from the company before? We answered that one.
Guys, you can open your microphone and ask her a question.
And you can ask in Spanish.
Yeah.
What was her big accomplishment in her whole career? And we're not talking about
Okay, so let's just say that before she became a national, she run a unit that was more than $1 million for 8 years in a row.
Right.
And then as a national sales director, her unit, her personal unit, did over $1 million every single year of her career.
For 20 more years.
For 20 more years.
And,
So that is 28 years of $1 million unit.
and then Katie has my unit now.
And then she passed, because she's a national, she passed the unit to her daughter, who's Katie Toupin. And you're going to see, well, Elizabeth Toupin. That's the technical.
Katie's her music name.
Yeah. Because she's also a singer. And she has her own album and everything, several albums. She's a famous singer. And Katie now runs the unit. And Katie will be the #1 sales director this year at Seminar.
No, I don't know
she
about
will
that.
be. I bet you anything.
I don't know about that, but she inherited that $1 million unit. And so one of the questions that all of you need to ask yourself is start thinking now about being able to pass all of your work in Mary Kay onto your daughter, your granddaughter, your niece, someone in your family. And even if you don't become a national, imagine having Paulina's customer base that does $40,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 a year, being able to pass that on to her daughter when she no longer wants to do Mary Kay anymore. And then she can pass those customers on to her. Guys, there's so many women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that right now that would value even $1,000 or $2,000 extra a month. Think this thought, you guys. Women have more money in their 50s, 60s, and 70s than they have in their entire life. They do. They've got their mortgages paid off for the most part. They've got their marriages settled, or they got rid of them. Something happened there. They got it all fixed out. And then they have more disposable income in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And guess what? Those women have friends that fit that same situation. You need to be recruiting a lot of women right now in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, because they will benefit from having that extra income. And then think about you as you age, being able to pass on your customer base or work to be a national so you can pass on your unit to your daughter or your granddaughter.
I have a question on Facebook.
Okay.
I must have 3 more women by the end of the month. How do you suggest the fastest way to accomplish this?
Okay. Well, without knowing your situation, I believe that recruiting has to happen organically. Okay. I think anytime that you force something, that it doesn't have a good outcome at the end. And so I would, if I needed 3 recruits, I would go back to the people I have the deepest, most meaningful relationship with, whether it would be people I knew before Mary Kay who already knew me and trusted me, maybe my original customers, some of my very best people in my life, the people who trust me the most, the people who like me the most. I would start there with those people. And I have something what's called laying your cards on the table. I don't believe you ever hide anything from anybody. And I would say to those 3 people that I approached, hey, we may have talked about this before. I just want to let you know, I have a really big goal in Mary Kay, and this may or may not be for you right now. But if you were going to think about doing Mary Kay in the next few weeks or months, if you could make the decision by June 30th, it would mean a lot to me personally. It won't change your career because you're going to be welcome no matter whenever you choose to do Mary Kay. The training's going to be exactly the same no matter when you do it, but it would mean a lot to me. So I just want to let you know, if this is something that you're looking at now or in the next few months or in this next year, it would mean a lot to me if you made that decision right now. So that's just being open, transparent, and honest. Now, that conversation sounds very different, obviously, to ears of people who don't know you and don't trust you. So I would definitely go with the people that I had the deepest relationship with and just be honest. But always remember, recruiting works best when it follows the product. Okay? All right. People recruit closest to the product. Look at who you just facialed this week. Look at who you just sold product to this week. That's when people are the most excited about Mary Kay. That's when they're most excited about you. So recruit close to the product.
I love it. That's good. All right, last question, because I have to feed Linda dinner. And you're probably thinking,
I've been starving, you guys, just absolutely starving in our house. You've never seen so much food in your entire life.
know me.
We could miss 15 meals and not even know it. Go ahead.
So you're probably thinking, why is Paulina sending this to Makeover America? I really believe that our business is amazing. And you're probably watching and you're like, well, it's an interview for training. No, it's an interview for you to know what real life is. For you to know what real Mary Kay is, instead of like somebody spewing at you 5 benefits and not knowing that there are good things and bad things in it, like everything in life, and that we all have life happen. So this was the real thing. And that's why I wanted Linda to be totally real. Linda never hides anything, which I love about it. Just like, she'll tell you. So last question, who has a question for her? Like if it's something that is burning in your heart that you really need to ask her, you can ask her anything. No, and her son is already married, so no, you can't have that one. And he's good looking, but you can't have him.
No, I do have to brag while you were thinking about your questions. Is last Saturday, I went to his graduation. Praise Jesus, amen. The child is 35. He's been in school since he was 5. He is a pediatric neurologist now, finished residency, is a professor now at the University of Kentucky. It's all official. He has his own clinic. Life is good. His mom is happy that the child is finally
and the mama paid for all of it.
It was a $600,000 education because his mama is in Mary Kay. He doesn't owe a penny.
Well, Geraldine is watching you, and her daughter wants to go to law school.
Geraldine, honey, you need a 10-class week this week, darling. 10 classes this week. Okay, hop to it, girl. Hop to it. You're going to need every penny you can get. Okay, you need to get real busy, real fast.
I'll try.
There she goes. So I think that's always very powerful to hear your story. You help both kids find their love and being able to support them both.
And I don't want you to think I just passed out money like it was candy. My kids worked their tail off. They worked their tail off. They had multiple jobs at the same time. My daughter, you have no idea. Like I was telling you guys, she's now a screenwriter too for Bollywood. It's just insane what the child does. But if she was sitting here, she would tell you that life growing up in our house, the thing that she remembered the most, there was never drama. Mama never brought drama to the house. When we failed, when we had goals that we didn't miss, when things didn't go the way they were supposed to do, we went to plan B. There was no emotion. There was no drama. Yes, I was disappointed in my heart, but you don't have to show everything that's in your heart on your face. And we just went to plan B. And if plan B didn't work, we went to plan C. And guys, you are in your final 10 days of June and you're on a winning team. I need to explain this to all the customers. Right now, you are in a position to be some of the best customers in all of America. Do you know how many few units do $500,000 in business? You guys are so lucky to have these consultants as your consultants and this woman as your director. Not everybody who signs a Mary Kay agreement gets this. Okay, this is called the long straw. Like if you're drawing straws, you got the long straw with Paulina as your all's director. So if you're thinking about becoming a Mary Kay consultant or you are a Mary Kay consultant, guys, this is crunch time. This is the Final Four. This is the Super Bowl. This is the World Series of Mary Kay. The next 10 days, Mary Kay says, June is no sex, no supper. Now there's a reason there's no sex and supper because we are busy. We are busy. This is your finals. This is the Super Bowl, guys. This is when you work like there ain't no tomorrow and you don't sleep because you want your team to win. Guys, that's the fun of Mary Kay. If I was a customer watching this, I would want to be on a team that wins. I want to be on a team that knows how to fight. I want to be on a team that makes stuff happen.
Cool. I love how she talks like that. I'm like, I'm ready to be on her team. I'm like, woo. Okay, last question. Who has the last question? Because we're going to dinner.
I have one.
All right, Maribel.
Your favorite books?
Your favorite book.
Oh, I know. I have it. I have it. That's one of them. Yes. You have Mary Kay Way?
Yes, it's right behind you.
Okay. Well, first of all, everyone on this call who is a consultant or someone considering to be a consultant, you want Mary Kay's autobiography because that's what recruited me in the company. Okay. Study famous people. Quit reading about losers. Study famous people who literally defied all odds. That's who you want to follow. For the consultants, you want this book on your nightstand tonight, this week. It's called The Mary Kay Way. It's kind of our leadership Bible in Mary Kay. It teaches the Christian principles that make up of our company and how you treat people and how you become a leader in our company. And then The book that that Paulina's referencing is John C. Maxwell, The 21 Irrefutable, it's a big word, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And this also has a Bible that you can buy with it.
You gave it to me as a gift.
It's a gift I gave all of my directors when they debuted. I gave it to Paulina. And the way it works, this talks about the 21 laws of leadership. For example, law number 1 is the law of the lid, which means your organization will never be a 10 if you're a 5. So you quit trying to change people and change yourself. If you want a different kind of team, you have to change yourself first. You can never change another person. Anybody on this call who's ever tried to change a husband, change a kid, change a mother-in-law, or change a parent knows you cannot do that. That does not work, but you can change yourself. And so this book is about the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, but they takes the King James Bible. Every chapter of the Bible, he talks about the leader in there. I mean, it's a regular Bible. I use it as a regular Bible, but he points out which law that leader demonstrated. It's incredible. Maribel, you can read 1,000,000 books about riding a bicycle. The only way to learn to ride a bicycle, Maribel, is get on the bicycle. And so that means you have to just get out there and make mistakes. Make mistakes is how you learn. And, you know, I think it's a mark of a champion is the more mistakes you make.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. I hope you have loved our surprise. It was longer than normal, but you know, Linda is a really good storyteller. I just love hearing her. But is there anything else you want to say to them before I say goodnight to them?
Well, a couple of things. You have a leader who's not only proud of you, but I knew her when she wasn't the leader she is today. And she's always been a remarkable woman. And she didn't tell me to say this, and I know I'm embarrassing her.
I'll turn right.
The first time I ever met her, she came to one of my director boot camps, and she challenged something I said to the audience. Like, she stood up and challenged me. And I remember thinking, who is this loud Latino woman, and who does she think she is? And I fell in love with her. And so over the years, I've watched her mature and grow as a leader in our company. And so, guys, I sent my privileged children to Haiti for 2 summers to work the mission fields in the slums, because my kids didn't grow up poor. I grew up poor. I knew how to appreciate every little thing Mary Kay gave me or offered me. My kids didn't. People don't know what they don't know. I cannot stress to you what you don't know, you don't know. Not everyone gets Paulina, how organized she is, how systemized she is, how she has a book on each one of you, how she tracks you, how she knows what your next step is, how she watches your numbers. I cannot stress, guys, you are so lucky. And I just want you to appreciate her so I don't have to ship you off to Haiti to see what a bad director looks like, okay? So just appreciate the director that has been given you and understand not everybody gets this. And so just give it your heart. Give it your heart in these next 10 days. And if you don't have a personal goal, say, Paulina, what do you need from me? What do you need me to do to play on this team? And she'll make it as big or as small as you want it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, say goodnight to Linda.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. You're a truly inspiration for all of us.
You're welcome. My honor and privilege.
Okay, good night, guys.